such a soap drama. Like, I didn't know the Bible could be this interesting when I first started reading it, but it is like, this is juicy, guys. Even when Joseph is tempted by sin, he says no. He resists temptation, and instead of rewarding him, it seems like God is punishing him. He gets framed and thrown in prison for a crime that he did not commit. All he's done is obey God, and he's still facing trials. Joseph must be losing his faith in God a little bit. He must be a little confused on where God's promise is, because God had promised something to him previously, but it looked like it was nowhere in sight. A lot of us right now are in this situation. We are facing little obstacles in our life. We are in dry seasons, and that makes us question God's purposes behind it all. Joseph gets thrown into prison, which actually sucks because he didn't even commit a crime, and he stays there until he is 30 years old. 30 years old. But he luckily finds favor with the prison warden, which is the guy who is in charge of the prison, and he puts Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners because he kind of trusts Joseph more. A really long sequence of events happens, and it's so meticulous and so perfectly aligned in God's plan. I'm not going to go through it all, but Joseph ends up interpreting some dreams for two guys, and eventually that gets to Pharaoh, who needs his own dream interpreted, and he brings Joseph into his court to ask him to interpret his dream. When Pharaoh, the prince of Egypt, brings Joseph in to interpret his dream, Joseph interprets it, and everything that he says is going to happen actually happens. And so Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of Egypt. This guy goes from being beat up by his brothers, put into slavery, falsely accused of a crime, to being the prince of Egypt. The only one above him is Pharaoh himself, so he's second in command of everything in Egypt. He's basically the prince of Egypt. He goes from rags to literal riches, and he receives abundantly. Joseph is living the high life. He has so much money, so much wealth, so much livestock, and this just goes to show that when God has a promise for you, he doesn't just do it halfway. He doesn't just give you what you asked for, but he gives you more than you ever could have imagined. That's why it's so important that even in trials, even in obstacles, don't lose sight of what's ahead, because you don't know the full picture. You can't see God working behind the scenes, but trust me, he is there. TikTok is making me run out of time. I don't have any more time to film this video, but thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting. If you liked it, drop an amen in the